Hello everyone, Carnasa here, and welcome back to Kerbal Gets Real. It's 1969, Part 2. And in 1969, Part 2, we are going to be trying to land our second lunar base. We are going to be launching the infamous egg, and we're going to dip our toes into the first shuttle program of Carnasa Space Agency. So we are going to start off this episode on the 5th of July 1969 with the launch of Lunar Base number 2 on top of a Leviathan X Super. Basically a Leviathan Super 67 with 2 RSRMs strapped to the first stage. We have slightly extended that first stage as well with those 5 F1A engines, and instead of 7 HG3s on that second stage, well, we have replaced those with 2 M1 engines. So the name of Lunar Base number 2 was of course put to a public vote over on my Discord, and it was the hottest vote of this year. So we had 2 main contenders, we had Solidarity and we had Basey McBaseFace. And by the time that I announced the results on the stream, well, we had a tie. So they were both even. So what I decided to do was I flipped a coin and Basey McBaseFace came out on top. However, there was a great suggestion that Solidarity is the official name of this base, whereas Basey McBaseFace is what it will be affectionately known as. So I do just want to say, obviously, I know that that was not the hottest vote of this year. If you are American, obviously, you have got your elections coming up. So make sure that you do go out and vote. Get your voice heard. I don't have a say, obviously, being British, but do it. It's very important that you do go and vote. But there we go. We have captured around the moon, and we are going to leave this in orbit for a while because we want to land this on the 20th of July. But now it's time to turn our focus to the infamous egg. That's right, it is the Titan scanner being launched on the 11th of July 1969 on top of an Icarus Super 66. This is where the egg started, and you can see now there we have the giant golden egg, which is going to contain our device that is going to be sent over to Titan to scan the surface. We have a high-res altimetry scanner on there, and we also have a biome scanner on there. And yeah, I just kind of wanted some really cool maps of Titan. So Titan has an atmosphere which starts at 600 kilometers. So unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get a low-res altimetry scan of Titan because that scanner has a maximum height of 500 kilometers. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. But I don't know, there are a few tricks that I might be able to play upon to actually do that. But there you go. We can see we do have an encounter with Saturn. So it's gonna take us a while to get over there. You can see in 495 days, we're gonna have to perform a maneuver. But now we have the launch of Lunar Shuttle number 8, once again on an Uber 1 launch vehicle on the 14th of July. The crew on board this mission are gonna be Valentina Zimmerman, Cookie Ansimov, and Jurassic Smolnovia. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I may have absolutely butchered that. So this is just going to be a crew to head over to the Ellen Cox Memorial Station. Now, you might have noticed in this episode so far that all I have shown are launches, and that's because that's all that I am going to show in this episode. I have decided to change this around a bit, cut out all of the sections in the Space Center, and just get to all of the good stuff that is going to go on. It's a little bit different. It's one reason why it's taken a little bit longer for this to come out, just trying to get my head around what to actually do for this. If people are interested in this style, please do let me know, otherwise I can switch back to the old style that I did. But there we go, we have shuttle number 8 docking to the ECMS now. Now, we are going to be attempting to actually land Basey McBaseFace on the moon. So it is the 20th of July, 1969, and yeah, we are having to dump all of the food, water, oxygen, and nitrogen in there because for some reason they got filled up. They weren't supposed to be full up, so when trying to land this, I needed those to be completely empty so that we didn't go smashing into the surface of the moon. If you do want to see this being smashed into the surface of the moon, why don't you go and check out the live stream, which I will put a card to now. So this was a bit of a shame, once again, because I was doing this on a live stream. Well, my frames dropped considerably, so you were treated to a bit of a slideshow of the actual landing. Now we're going to be turning our focus to the rover. The rover for Basey McBaseFace. So this is just a supply rover in case when we land our supplies, if they aren't quite close enough to the base, well, this can pick up those supplies, grab them, then we can go and take those supplies back to the base. But as it stands, well, using MechJeb landing guidance with engines that have unlimited ignitions, you can see it's actually kind of easy to land everything quite close to Solidarity or Basey McBaseFace. There we go, we have touchdown with the rover now, and once again, I am very, very, very sorry for this, but the slideshow, it's not great, but I found out during the stream that when I went to map screen and came back in, it did kind of make the stream a little bit better. When I stream in future, I have changed my settings around a little bit now. Hopefully, it means that we shouldn't get this stutter anymore. Finally, we are going to be landing our food parcel. So this is the last section of this mission that we need to send down before Basey McBaseFace becomes habitable. So this is a day later on the 21st of July 1969. I would have quite liked to get this all down by the 20th, obviously being when Apollo 11 landed, but I couldn't quite do it. So now that we have all of the infrastructure in place, it's time to send down the first crew to Basey McBaseFace. So on this, we have Alex Flyer, Oliver Arrowwood, and Danny Morales, and of course, we are going to be sending down one of the reusable lunar landers. These are great because once again, we can just use MechJeb's landing guidance to land us as close as possible to the base. There we go, we can see we have performed our deorbit burn and we are coming down hot to Solidarity Base, also known as Basey McBaseFace, very quickly. There we go, and once again we're gonna get a few choppy frames whilst we bring this down onto the surface. I don't know why, but it's whenever I actually land on the moon's surface, well, everything kind of gets really laggy. But we landed. Now it's time to return to the rover because we are going to, as I said, we are going to place those supplies from the supply module into the rover, and then we are going to drive the rover over to where we need to actually deposit those supplies in the base. But you can see we've got Alex Flyer. He is going to plant us a flag at the side of the base. Of course, it's going to be Solidarity Base, bracket, Basey McBaseFace, and all hail the egg. There we go. That was the black text on that flag. Now we are just going to run him over to the Kerbal attachment system resource transfer station. We're going to move that from the supply module over to the rover. We're going to fill the rover up with supplies, then drive it around. Once again, sorry for the lag. I promise this is the last section of the stream that I did in this video. So after this, it will all be silky smooth. There won't be any choppy frames whatsoever, but we're gonna grab Alex Flyer again because once again, we do need to actually link these two vessels up so we can transfer all of our resources across. But now that we have done that, well, we're just gonna get the remaining crew and we are gonna board them on Basey McBaseFace. But now we are going to turn our focuses to another launch on the 7th of August 1969. This is going to be the Selene Communications Network, launched on top of an Adventurer 1. So what this is going to be, and this has been a really long time coming, this is going to be a communications network around the moon. I was getting a little bit fed up of actually getting to the dark side of the moon, the far side of the moon, and then running out of communications. Well, obviously the moon is blocking the Earth, so we weren't able to talk to anything on the far side of the moon. This shall fix that. You can see we have 3 satellites on top of that transfer stage, which we are going to place into a lovely, lovely orbit, so all 3 of those can actually communicate to each other. There we go. We have made it into orbit with the Adventurer 1, though. Now, we are just going to fire up that Pegasus X stage. It's been a while since I've used one of these. It's been a while since I've used the Adventurer 1. That rocket really hasn't got an awful lot of use, but then I suppose with lunar missions, well, we don't need to lift an awful lot into low Earth orbit. So there we go. We can see the Earth disappearing off into the distance as this makes its way over to the moon. There it is, the lovely lunar surface, and of course we are just going to perform a quick capture burn so that, well, we can actually set up our communications network. Now, the last video that I released, obviously, was my real antenna communications network guide. So if you want to see how I set these kinds of things up, well, I'm not going to go into detail here because I did an entire video on it. So go check out that video if you want to see how this is done. But there we go. We have actually got our communications network up around the moon. Now what we're going to do is we are going to deorbit our transfer stage. And once again, I thought, you know what? Let's try and land this thing. It's an RL-10 engine. It's not a throttleable RL-10 engine. So this is going to be very difficult to land. We have a limited amount of ignitions with, well, we only have 10 at the start, and we've already used quite a few of those. So I'm going to have to time this really well to actually see if we can land this on the surface of the moon. But you can see we're coming down now. We have almost broken our surface speed to absolutely nothing. And then I'm just going to fire up that engine one last time. And unfortunately, I did leave it a little bit late, and we smacked the surface at about 25 meters per second and went flying. But now we're going to move on to the main event of 1969. Project Longsword. It's Carnasa Space Agency's first foray into using space shuttles. And this is the first, launched on the 30th of August 1969. This is Longsword Excalibur. And it is very, very similar to how the space shuttle was set up. You can see we have two RSRMs launching our vehicle. We have an external Hydrolox tank which is feeding into the shuttle, feeding into those two J2T Aerospike engines. And then of course we also have our orbital maneuvering systems, which are two AJ-10 190s. Now I've already mentioned that this episode has come out a bit later than usual, and this is also another one of the culprits for that. Yes, it took a very, very, very long time to design a space shuttle in Realism Overhaul. We made it to orbit, we released our satellite, and I also unfortunately released our food supplies. So this mission was supposed to last in orbit around 90 days at its absolute maximum capacity. But unfortunately, because I released the life support, that was a complete idiot move by me, by the way, well, we're going to have to bring it down after having only spent a couple of hours in low Earth orbit. But you know what? This was a very good test run for this mission, though. We proved that we could get the shuttle to orbit, and we now we're going to see if we can land this thing successfully. Re-entry into Earth's atmosphere with a shuttle, of course, is going to be rather difficult. And it is something that I have not actually done in Realism Overhaul ever. I have never managed to build a space shuttle. This is the first. But we have made it through the worst of Earth's atmosphere. We are now coming down, and I tell you what, this thing is able to fly incredibly well. It can fly. It is an absolute dream to fly. But unfortunately, my targeted landings leave a lot to be desired. But now, after all the excitement of that space shuttle, we are going to return to Basey McBaseFace, where we're going to get Alex Flyer, Oliver Arrowwood, and Danny Morales into the reusable lunar lander so we can send them home. They have spent a grand total of 54 days on the surface of the moon. It is now the the 13th of September 1969. There we go, the reusable lunar lander has taken off. Now, one thing I didn't mention was the astronauts who were actually involved with Longsword Excalibur. So on that first flight, we did have Rahul Menon, we had It's Just Lucy, and we also had Snake Cake, who were aboard that shuttle. But there we go, we have the reusable lunar lander in orbit, and we have met up with the Ellen Cox Memorial Station. And now, it is just a quick docking attempt to get these guys back on the station before we return them home and finally complete that first lunar surface outpost contract that we have had for so long, that we have spent so much money trying to complete, so many resources, so much time. It's taken a ridiculous amount of time and a lot of spacecraft to actually get it to work. But there we go, the Lunar Shuttle is now leaving the Ellen Cox Memorial Station, and we are on our way back home. Now, I am going to say now that I did complete the contract with this mission, although I didn't complete it in the generic way, as in I did have to go into Alt F12 and cheat it complete. The reason being, for some reason, that contract for the Ellen Cox Memorial Station was the craft in question, so it kind of bugged out. But there we go, we have landed back at Earth. But now we're going to be turning our focus to Lunar Shuttle number 9 on the 1st of October 1969. And on this mission, we have Aspect Fannin, we have Beastly Pig, and we have the Space Boy. Now, this is once again just going to be a crew to go over to the Ellen Cox Memorial Station to replace the crew that are already on there. That crew that are already on there, we're not going to be sending them down. I did pick up a contract to rotate the crew of the station, so I thought, let's actually do that. It's a fair whack of money that we can do. And actually, we did keep this in orbit around the moon for quite a while to also get one of those lunar orbit contracts, which pays out a lot of money every time I do one of those. It's about 2 million. But there you go, we can see we are now docking to the Ellen Cox Memorial Station, and we are going to be returning Lunar Shuttle number 8 home on the 9th of October 1969. So this was actually the Lunar Shuttle that we launched earlier in the episode, but we've seen this a lot, so we managed to get home just safe, and we touched down. But now we're going to be joining L-Scan number 1, once again launched on an Adventurer 1 launch vehicle on the 4th of November 1969. This has been the half a year for the Adventurer launch vehicle. We have used this quite a lot, and I think probably, yeah, the last time I actually used one of these, I'm not even sure if I have used one of these before, so it's really coming in now. And there we go, we can see we have made it to orbit, and we are going to be sending this to the moon. So basically the purpose of this mission, this is going to be exactly like the Titan scanner. We have a high-res altimetry scanner on there, and we also have a biome scanner on there. I realized I didn't actually do either of those for the moon yet, so I kind of want to get some of those pretty pictures of the moon so I can look at them and think, damn, that looks cool. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Obviously, we did have to put it in a bit of a polar inclination, which is what that slight burn there was for. Now we are going to be capturing at the moon. Now, I did have a slight issue with this mission in the fact that I kept running out of power. It was a little bit unfortunate. Those solar panels aren't quite powerful enough to run those scanners at all times. Bit of an oversight by me, but it's enough. They have enough power to actually get a full scan of the moon, and by the end of the year, we did actually completely scan the lunar surface, which was really nice. Although still, it would have been nicer if those solar panels actually gave us the required amount of power. So now we are going to be going to Solidarity Supplies number 2, launched on top of an Icarus Super 66 on the 13th of November 1969. So yeah, this one, I mean, with all of the excitement that's been going on in this episode so far, I guess this is just a resupply mission. So we've seen one of these launched already, but in order to get another crew down to Basey McBaseFace, well, we are going to have to resupply the entire thing because we don't have enough supplies on there. And actually, one edit that I have done to these supplies is I have included some nitrogen in there because we vented all of the nitrogen and there wasn't any in our resupply module the first time. So in order to pressurize Basey McBaseFace, well, we are going to need to actually supply it with nitrogen. So that's why we have a load on this craft. But there you go, we can see we have landed very, very close to Basey McBaseFace. Now for the final launch of 1969, we have Longsword Excalibur, its second flight on the 5th of December 1969. So this time we have a crew of 4 on board. We have Albert Harper, we have Jane Jones, we have Pearl, and we have Sono Hero, originally known as Sonot the Hero type. So this is the exact same spacecraft that we already flew in this episode. All I had to do was recover it to the VAB and then just add the external tank on. So there we go, we have made it into orbit once again with Longsword Excalibur, but this time I changed the staging around so that when I detach that satellite, well, our life support doesn't go with it. And that means that we can spend a lot longer than the 2 hours in low Earth orbit with this spacecraft. Unfortunately though, due to there being 4 astronauts on this spacecraft, well, the advanced vacuum scrubber that I have installed in this spacecraft isn't actually capable of providing CO2 scrubbing for 4 astronauts. So what I've had to do is I have actually had to turn on the lithium hydroxide scrubber that is part of that Mark II crew cabin, and unfortunately, well, we don't have an awful lot of lithium hydroxide on the spacecraft. So after spending 12 days in low Earth orbit, which actually is a fair while longer than the first Longsword Excalibur, well, we are going to have to send these guys back home. So there we go, we have lit up those AJ-10-190s and we are beginning our descent once again back into the Earth's atmosphere to bring these 4 astronauts back home after having spent almost 2 weeks in low Earth orbit. A lot better than the initial flight of the Longsword, but of course, it's not over yet. We are gonna have to once again re-enter into Earth's atmosphere, and that is definitely easier said than done, because it's very difficult. There is so much that could go wrong, but there we go. We are really heating up now. You can see that re-entry effects coming on that spacecraft. And a great thing about this spacecraft is, well, it actually really doesn't heat up that much at all with the flight profile that I take once, well, when I am re-entering Earth's atmosphere. We only actually pull about 1.8 Gs upon re-entry. But once again, my targeted landings aren't particularly good. I was once again trying to aim for Cape Canaveral, but ended up near some small islands off the coast of Africa. But at least we are going to have a land landing this time. A land landing, a ground landing, not a sea landing. There we go. We are just about to touch down after another successful flight of Longsword Excalibur. So I did say there would be no Space Center section in this video, but of course the outro is always going to be Space Center because I really don't know what else to do for it. But that is the end of 1969. That is the end of the 60s. We're going to be going into the 70s now, and well, we hope a lot will be in store for the 1970s. It is likely that we will be sending our first crew over to Mars, and who knows what else the 1970s has in store. But I would just like to give a quick shout out to Calvin McClure at the end of this video. He has a YouTube channel. He does RP-1 stuff as well. I'll put a link to his channel in the description, and I will also put a card up now for his channel. Go check him out. He is also relatively new. We started about the same time, and he does some absolutely fantastic cinematic shots. He is great at design, so go check him out if you haven't checked him out already. But on that note, I have also just hit 950 subscribers whilst I am doing this voiceover, and that is absolutely amazing. I am so close to that all-important 1,000 subscribers mark now, and hopefully I should hit that soon. But if you want to help me out, why not share this video? Let everyone know about this video. And yeah, no, thank you to all of my subscribers already. You are absolutely amazing. I love the comments. I love what's going on the Discord. And yeah, no, it's great making these videos for all of you. And I love seeing all of the feedback that you guys provide. So thank you very much. But that is going to be the end of this video. So if you have enjoyed it, why not give it a like? If you have really enjoyed it and would like to continue with the content on my channel, please do consider subscribing. I have been Carnasa, and I will see you later.